Good morning guys and welcome back. So today I'm going to show you a couple of different methods for attaching a side awning on the side of your Jeep. Now the first thing you'll need is a set of roof racks. Now unfortunately for me, the Jeep came with a set of Rhino racks. And the side awning was actually already installed on the roof racks when I bought it, so these end caps have already been taken off. So when I got it, the brackets actually went through this gap and they were actually secured by a bolt on the other side that actually attaches the rack to the mount here. Now I've got an external weighted cage in there, which is awesome. Your Jeep might be set up a bit different, but it's sort of the same process as we go along. So the reason I'm changing this is I don't like the way it is mounted. It was nice because it was hidden through the section of the roof rack there, but the bracket was sitting up like this. So I'm just remounting it, but I'm going to show you guys a couple different ways. One way is less permanent, so if you're not 100% sure if you actually want a side awning on the side of your Jeep, it saves you actually drilling into it. And the second way will be drilling into the roof racks and actually hard mounting, which I think is a little bit more secure and it's a little bit more permanent. So as I was saying, I didn't like the way it was installed. The bracket kind of went up like that, and the side awning sat quite high, so it almost touched on the roof of the garage as I was coming down the drive, and also sat pretty high, which created a little bit more wind noise than I liked. So I've flipped these brackets over just so it sits a bit flush, a bit more flush to the actual side of the Jeep. Hopefully that will reduce a little bit of wind noise. So those are the sort of things you've got to think about when actually installing a side awning. It will create a little bit more wind noise, but if you've ever owned a Jeep with a soft top, you know that wind noise is just part of Jeep life. I've got a hard top on my Jeep, so I've got no wind noise whatsoever. So there's just a little bit of wind noise in certain parts of the highway driving to work. You get a little bit of wind noise. But the first one I'll show you is a little bit less permanent. So there's two ways to do a less permanent one. One is actually using U-bolts, and the other one is using U-bolts. U-bolts will be a little bit stronger than this method. I don't have any U-bolts here, but this the U-bolts will be a little bit stronger than using just a hose clamp. Hose clamp is still really good. You can tighten it down. So all you'll need is two hose clamps. Your bracket will sit on top of the roof rack like so, and then you can just tighten the hose clamp around the bracket to the roof rack and secure it. I've seen people do this many times. It holds it down just fine. And it's the same sort of thing with the U-bracket. If you haven't used the U-bracket before, obviously it's like a U shape, and then you've got like a clamp that sits up, and then you've got the two bolts, and it just tightens it down pretty much. Super easy. So the next way, those are probably the easiest way to install it. You don't have to drill anything, and it's just in case you don't actually want to use your awning anymore. If you don't like it, or you want to change something else and change your rack system, whatever, or you're worried about drilling, you're not confident, that's a less intrusive way and a little bit simpler way to do it. But I don't think it's as structurally sound or as safe if you live in not such a nice area, or you're going camping where you might be worried it might be stolen. This is a good secure way that nobody's going to be able to get in and steal your awning. One, this is how it will sit. You can see the bracket I've used down the bottom. We'll go through these shortly. I'll tell you what everything is, where I got everything from. It's really cheap and easy to use, and the actual bolts for the side awning will sit through there, so you can't actually undo that. You might be able to undo one, but you can't do the second one to actually take the awning off, which is a really good idea if you're worried about it getting stolen. So let's get the side awning brackets and I'll show you how to mount this thing up. Alright, so on the Rhino rack you've got like a little weather strip in there across the top here. Just go ahead and remove that, and then you've also got one on the bottom side here as well. For some reason the one in the back didn't have this, but I did remove the one on the front, and that will open up this like little weather stripping in here for like water to run through. So that's where the bracket you used to sit, and now we're moving it to the top and hard mounting it and actually drilling through this. So when you got your L bracket, this actually comes in a kit when you actually buy an awning, depending on where you buy it from. So it's actually a preference for yourself of where you want to mount it, either further out. My preference is going as flush to the car as possible, just to make it look neat and tidy, and have a nice flush fitment. So that's pushed all the way in. So what we'll be doing is drilling two holes, one at the back on this side and one at the front. So you will have a nut and bolt that come through the bottom here and here as well. So what we'll do is I'll just set you guys up there, if you guys can see that, and we'll just pre-mark our holes with our drill bit, and then we'll drill all the way through. So I'm just making little incisions. You can use a smaller drill bit if you want, just to pre-drill it. So just 2 little marks there so I know where to drill. And I'd recommend this if you've got a hard top or your roof, depending on what you're installing these on. Some people might have like a cargo rack you might be installing this on. If you've got a soft top, push the soft top back, because the last thing you want is, if you've got a hard top, just grab a towel which will catch all the shards of metal when you're drilling through, and also a block of wood as well. The last thing you want to do is drill all the way through and then kind of punch through it and end up drilling into your hard top. So if you've got a soft top, just flick it back, give yourself some more room and space. I mean, accidents do happen, they're just part of life, but the less damage we can cause when we're doing this sort of stuff is better. So just block of wood underneath and something to catch the shards when you're drilling. So just take it slow, match it up with those holes that we've just pre-done. So the last thing you want is to punch all the way through it and go for that hard top. And it has been done before, so a piece of wood, whatever, and just a cloth to catch all these little metal shavings. So that one's done, and then we can get started on this back one. It's kind of hard on this back one because it kind of overhangs a little bit, but not enough to actually keep the block of wood there. So you could probably hold it there. Or if you've got a friend or something, or your wife could probably hold it there. Alright, so just give it a few back and forward motions so it's a nice hole, and then we're just going to clean up the shards and make sure that bracket we've got fits perfectly with those holes, just in case we've got to make any adjustments at any point. So let's clean these up. We'll grab our brackets and I'll show you what bolts and these little nut certs that I found at the local hardware shop, and let's get these brackets mounted. Alright, so we've got the holes drilled now in the correct location. So it's actually time to mount the bracket on, and then once we've got everything lined up and we're happy with that, then we can start putting the awning on. It's important that you do it right the first time, make your measurements, and try and hope drill once, so you just end up with like 12 different holes all throughout the roof racks. So the nuts and bolts we're using, I was going to use just a nut and washer on the bottom, but as you can see there, it's a little bit thinner. And when I did try and use a nut and washer to try and secure it down, it actually pushed this in. I mean, it's still metal, it's just not that hard and rigid. So I went to my local hardware shop and I actually found these. They're like a little plate, and they've got a, pretty much, I'd say a nut or like a threaded end welded in the center. So that's going to act as our nut there, and an extra little bit of support at the bottom. Now, after we mount this up, I might take it back off. Now I'll actually be mounting these, painting them black, just to match the rest of the car. I've got these are actually galvanized, so they're not going to rust, and I'm just going to paint them black to match the rest of the Jeep, so it looks nice and neat. So that pretty much acts as a nut, and also a little bit of support with a piece of metal. So we'll pop the bracket on and I'll show you how this works. So chuck our bracket, you can see the holes line up perfectly, front and back. Slide that in. Obviously I'll be putting a washer on that. Can I find that hole? There's the hole there. Screw that through, and then that can just go on the bottom edge there. I might just have to pop you guys down for a second. I don't know if you guys can see in there or not, but they can just go there, and just like a normal nut and bolt, except for it's a piece of metal, you just tighten that up like so. I won't do it all the way up just to show you what it is, and that's going to create a nice little bit of pressure on that bottom there, and the nut and washer at the top. So I'll grab our other one, make sure that back one lines up perfectly. So with the back one, it's pretty much the same sort of thing again. As always guys, if you've got anything to add, or you've installed one of these on your car before, please leave it in the comments below. And then the same on the bottom. So that's pretty much it guys. So now we can start mounting these brackets to the awning, and then we can start attaching these back to the Jeep. Alright, before actually putting these brackets on, now my one's already, I could see there's like a little dirt mark there where these brackets were, because I actually pulled these off, and I'm just remounting them as I said earlier in the video. But if it's your first time actually mounting this, a brand new one, to the roof racks, I'd recommend actually holding this up with a secondary person and actually lining it up and then making a few marks on the metal here and at the back, just so you get it perfectly in line where the racks sit. That way you can leave these loose, and they will actually slide back inside the brackets. That is one way to do it, yes, but I found it easier to actually make a mark on the awning and then secure these brackets first, then secure them on the roof rack second. So if you haven't done these before, as I said, there's just a nut there and a bolt, and that just slides in. If you leave them loose, these will just slide back and forward. So now now this would be a lot easier with two people, yes. Unfortunately I don't have a second person that's free at the moment to help me get this up. It should work fine with one person. I might just struggle a little bit. So if you've got two people, utilise them just to make your life a little bit easier. But now they've got these mounted up, I've got these nice and tight. You can leave them loose if you want to adjust it a little bit, but I've got them nice and tight at the moment. So let's chuck it up and start securing it to the roof racks. Alright, so we need to put that awning on now. What I recommend doing, I see a lot of people doing it, not setting up their nuts and bolts beforehand. Makes life so much easier. So you've got everything lined up, you've already got the washers on the nuts, so all you have to do is grab that, slide it through, and then you're good to go. So I'm standing on a chair with the awning. I'll probably centralise that a bit, and I can lift it up, stand up on the chair, and just slide my nuts and bolts and washers in. So I'll set you guys up just here. Sorry about the darkness, I'm trying to line that up a little bit for you. So let's get this awning on. It's actually not too heavy. It is got a little bit of weight on it. So as I said before, those nuts are sliding straight into those gaps there. Get one nut and washer. One. Two, and we'll do the same with the back. This is the part where it makes it easier if you've got two people, just so it's not as hard to try and line the bolts and stuff up. I might do is put one nut insert, or whatever you want to call them, guided plate on here. Kind of secure it loosely, that way it's not going to come off, and you can still make a few adjustments on this back edge. So I think I might need to move over just a little bit. So let's move over to the back and see how we're going. Oh yeah, not too bad, just need to line up a little bit better. Good news, I just heard on Facebook that national parks are opening back up. Not sure about camping at the moment, but national parks are, so you can go for a drive. Hopefully the campsites open back up. Hopefully we can get back to camping as soon as possible. So that one's down. I'll just grab that washer that I just dropped on the ground. Alright, so we're done. Sorry, I kind of cut it a bit short when installing that. It was just needed two hands, and it's a little bit boring, but as you can see there, that's how that plate works. It's securing nice and tight to there. It's pretty much clamping down. I've got a washer on the top, on the bracket, and I've got these two plates on the bottom, and that's holding it so secure on there. You can see it's actually flush mounted, and that second bolt there is actually inside there. Last time, I don't know if I got a photo of it, I should have shown you before I'd taken it off, but the bracket actually came up, so the awning was all the way up here. It actually sat out a little bit. I don't know what the old owner was thinking or doing, but now it's nice and flush to the side of the Jeep. You guys can see that, because last time it was sitting, I don't know, up about here maybe. That way you can just go along. It's sitting just above the door. You can still open your doors, and you've got enough headroom when that awning is out. So I actually love that. That's exactly what I was after. Nice and flush mounted to the side of the Jeep. Not protruding at all, not sitting too high, and it's nice and secure. The other thing was, I found it hard to access the roof racks when it was sitting too high. Even though you've got the side step and the wheel there, with it too high, you can actually jump up and access the roof rack like you can there. So it's actually sitting too high, which I didn't like, and it actually made it a lot harder with the freedom panels to try and take them off. So I will be taking these back off, painting these bolts black, painting those brackets black as well, and pretty simple. And it's really preference for you guys. I'll probably cut that weather strip down so it sits flat in there, or actually drill two holes so it actually sits underneath there. Same with the bottom one, but it's kind of up to you guys what you want to do. You can do whatever you want. You can leave it off or cut it up. It's up to you, depending if you think that's going to be permanent or not. As I said, it's really up to you. It's just preference. As I said, that's going to be straightened up a little bit when I actually paint these up black. I will wrap the line them to match the wheels, and the other parts will be painting and wrap the line a little bit later on. But really happy with the result of that, how it's sitting a lot flusher to the car. So it's a really easy install, guys, even if you're not doing the easiest one. The easiest one is using those U-bolts or the hose clamps and actually just tightening it to the actual roof rack itself. It's less drilling, it's less work, but I feel like this is a more permanent structure. It's a little bit more rigid as well, and it's got less chance of being stolen. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. If you want to add, guys, leave in the comments below. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.